Defending yourself and protecting what's yours when you're sued for debt. Brought to you by Kenneth Chabert at yourlegallegup.com. Your advantage if you're being sued by debt collectors. People being sued for debt often face what seems to be a very difficult choice. Hire a lawyer to defend them or give up. Lawyers are expensive. They might tell you it will cost more to defend yourself than you would lose in the case if you just gave up. Spending $1,000 to defend a suit for $500 doesn't make much sense. Spending $2,000 to defend a suit for $5,000 might make sense, but who has $2,000? There is another option, and that's called going pro se. Pro se legal representation means representing yourself rather than hiring a lawyer to do it for you. It may sound a little scary, but consider. You have the right to do that in essentially any courtroom proceeding, whether as the defendant or as the plaintiff. And although many people fear the thought of representing themselves in court, it isn't rare these days. In over half of domestic law cases, at least one party is pro se. And some other kinds of law are also trending in the same direction, because lawyers are expensive for everybody. One kind of law trending towards self-representation is debt law. Debt law, being sued for debt, is not complicated, and it tends to involve people who often can't afford a lawyer. So the judges are used to it. And because it is simple, and because the cases typically do not involve a lot of money in the legal sense of the word, defending yourself can actually be an advantage. In debt law cases, at least, you can do a pretty good job with a little study and a little help. That is often all it takes to win the case or drive the debt collector away. It doesn't take long to make your case unprofitable for the company that's suing you. And that's because they're either paying a lawyer a lot of money per hour, or because they could be suing lots of other people who wouldn't fight back in the same amount of time. Either way, your fighting back is costing them money, a lot of money. And there's a dirty little secret the debt collectors would rather you didn't know. But I'm going to tell you anyway. And you already know it if you've read anything I've written. It's outrageous. Debt collectors almost always, and that means always as far as I've ever heard, file their lawsuits without the evidence they would need to win the case. And they don't really know whether they could get it or not. In many cases, they either can't get the evidence under any circumstances, or it's too expensive to get for them to bother. That's because when they buy the debts for mere pennies on the dollar from the original creditor, they don't get the paperwork they would need to prove the debt. A lot of times that information has already been destroyed, or is destroyed when the debt is sold. Imagine being able to file lawsuits that you could only win 10% of the time, but winning 90% of the time because the people you're suing don't defend themselves. What a scam. How did these guys go home and look at themselves in the mirror? They do, though, and they're actually very self-righteous about it. Here's another dirty little secret. It's just as outrageous, actually. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, found one large debt collector they said collected over 80% of its revenues from people who had never owed the debt at all. And there have been many cases of debt collectors trying to collect on debts they didn't own, which meant that the people they sued could pay them and still owe the money to someone else. Take a look at these cases for a few examples. They can do all this because people don't defend themselves. That's the only way. If you don't defend yourself, you could get ripped off. And you probably will be. It isn't totally easy to defend yourself. I'm not going to kid you. You'll have to read and figure out stuff that the debt collectors have designed mostly to fool you and make it hard for you to understand. And you'll have to write some stuff to show what they've done. But it isn't that hard either. The main thing stopping you would be in your own head. Fear, or a feeling that you can't do it. But you can do it, definitely. My website and my litigation materials will help you tremendously. Go to yourlegallegup.com. And it feels great to do it. Here's what one purchaser said. Ken, just a quick email to say thank you for your well-written manual. I was scared to death when I got a summons and complaint served on me by a debt collection attorney. I did exactly what you said, though, and basically let them know I wasn't going away. The key, I believe, was in the interrogatories. I used the exact same ones in your manual. They wouldn't answer them, even after my motion to compel. So I filed a motion to dismiss, and that was pretty much it. The attorney folded like a cheap suit, and I have to say it almost felt better than sex. Thanks again, Gary. And here's what another customer said. Your litigation manual and materials and videos are simply the best thing like it on the market. Keep up the great work. Your service is invaluable and a godsend, and it is clear and powerful in its illustration, argument, and logic. You can do it too. And you should do it. Protect what's yours and don't let the debt collectors rip you off. My site and materials can help. Go to yourlegallegup.com. Get my litigation manual and forums, or get the videos and defend yourself. You'll be glad that you did. You may not consider this video or anything I say in this or any video as legal advice. I cannot give you legal advice, but as a former lawyer, I do know the legal process and debt law very well. So use what I say as a source of information and apply your own judgment to your case. To get more help on fighting debt collectors and their lawsuits, go to yourlegallegup.com. Get my litigation manual and forums. If you appreciate this video, please take a second and like it, subscribe, and friend me, as these things will help others find my videos and begin to learn more about the debt litigation process. Defend yourself from the debt collectors. On Facebook or YouTube, as these things help others find my videos and begin to learn more about the debt litigation process. Defend yourself from the debt collectors.